Oh, good evening. Welcome to episode 201. I'm Geoff, host of the Brewgooders Beer Comics and Assorted Geekery podcast, in case you didn't know what you were watching/listening to. Joining me this week in the middle is Mr. John Bruce.
Hello.
And on the far right, but not as far as we're aware, a member of the far right, is Mr. Lagerlogs himself, Stu.
Hello.
How are you guys doing? We all right?
Doing good, yeah.
Oh, it's been a funny week this week. How are you guys? What have you guys been up to?
Work. Just been at work.
Yeah.
No, I've been catching up on some drawing projects. So been working my way through various things, including a piece I started nearly 2 years ago, which I finally finished the other day, which was a Clerks Aliens mashup that I did, which was a play on the fact that it's Hicks from Aliens and it's Dante Hicks, and Hicks is always in the wrong place. So I figured, you know what, why not? So I finished that. A couple other bits and bobs that I'm working on.
That's so cool, man. That's just a cool
time
thing
for the 30th anniversary.
It's yeah. Like I said, I started it 2 years ago, and it was always a plan for somebody else to digitally colour it. And I just figured, you know what, I busted out my old pens and just started colouring it myself. So you're chipping away at that in between various projects. So yeah.
See, when you're doing when you're doing your trading cards and stuff, do you do them in colour, or do you black and white them, or do you do that both?
I do them all generally. For the most part, you're talking 99% of them I've done in colour. If I'm saving time, I'll do black and white, but you're talking very rarely. But when it comes to Stormtroopers, you're talking black and white anyway. So with a bit of grey shading. So I try and chuck in a bit of colour here and there, but for the most part, I'll do full colour. Yeah.
Does anyone do them digitally? I don't know if that's even possible, but you do them by hand.
No, yeah, all sketch cards are done by hand. Yeah, I mean, you can use digital techniques to do layouts for sketch cards. I've seen people who went, right, okay, this is how I'm digitally going to do it, and they'll lay it out, and then they'll trace their own work onto the card, and then draw it from there. But I just draw all straight onto card.
Yeah.
But I know some people who are, do base cards and whatnot. They'll do them digitally. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's fascinating, actually. Yeah. So that's it must be cool with just being able to do bits and pieces and stuff that you really like as well. Obviously, you're a massive Kevin Smith fan, aren't you? So
I am. Yeah, and that's just for a bit of fun. So, but I'll be doing some more stuff for the stash at some point as well. Down the line, we've got a couple of things lined up. And I'm going to be a guest at the Scotland Card Show that's going to be at the SEC.
Oh wow!
So I'll be a guest there along with another tops artist, Jameson Murdoch, as well as various other kind of card artists as well. So that should be quite good. And it's all basically just cards. So sporting cards, Pokemon, all that kind of stuff.
I feel like will they have the Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments and all that sort of shit happening as well? Is there?
I don't know if they'll be having tournaments per se, but they'll certainly be selling selling and trading all the various cards there. So it should be a good day. It's in June. Looking forward to that. Yeah.
That's cool, man. So what have you been up to this week?
I just, other than work, juggling family life, a little bit of video games, and editing videos. I've restarted the old Resident Evil 2 remake because I went onto the Xbox Game Pass and I thought, I fancy being chased by zombies again. Let's go for it. So there's been a wee bit of that, and just been trying to crunch out the Iron Brew beer video we did for our channel, where we reviewed the trio of sour beers from Vault City. Yeah. Oh yeah, and actually, since it's Burns Night, the plaque I have in the background is fitting.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, this is thanks to my dad, who he actually made this.
That's insane.
That is. I thought you'd nicked it from someplace, like outside a pub or something.
Yeah, I always think it's been. I was like you've gone into Wigton or something and shored that.
Yeah.
when I told him
That
I
is
was
awesome.
Doing a Burns night video. Oh Christ! Don't drop it, please.
Drop on your foot.
Yeah, man.
It's the cat sleeping underneath it. So yeah, when I said we were going to do like these Iron Brew beer for Burns night, he's like, "Oh, I've got the perfect thing just in my shed," and retrieved this. I just finished painting it a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, we've been
Wow.
referring to it as Rab the Slab.
Rather slab.
You're one letter away in slab from being like what Robbie Burns is also known for, other than being a poet. So you're good. He's a bit of a character, was old Mr. Burns like. I had the folk over for it yesterday. I don't know why we did it yesterday. It was obviously tonight, but at time of recording. But my friend Jeannie brought me some beer. That I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Yeah. Like, it's a good Scottish ale. It has actually won the champion beer of Scotland. Is Inveralmond Brewery's Ossian. It's just it took me years to work out how to spell that properly. Or pronounce that properly. I used to call it Ossian. I don't know why. Yeah, Ossian. It's Andrew McGee's like a total champion of that beer as well. Like if we had, they usually have one tap in the commercial quite a lot. So I'll be tucking into that once I finish my red wine. That Vault City Brewing beer, they've been around for quite a few years now. I remember sort of when we started the podcast, they were like one of the local craft beer guys that we, like they were kind of small batch, and you were kind of just having to go to like craft beer shops like the Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant and Dunfermline to get it. But they definitely seem to like they've got their tap room now, haven't they? In their
they've got two. One in Haymarket and another at Portobello.
Yeah. They're a good brewery. I really like the I'm not a massive fan of sours, which obviously that's their jam, isn't it? It's
yes.
They've specialised in that sort of beer style, but I really like their Iron Brew sour. Like I remember, I think during lockdown is when they first started bringing that out, and it being quite hard to get hold of because I think the crates were selling out faster than they were being able to make it. But it's cool that they've got their niche and they're doing really well. There's so many breweries now that you're seeing. I feel like it's every other day on, and like I'm on, like as you'll be on as well, Stu. Like when you're on these beer and craft beer Facebook pages, it seems every other day another one shutting down or
yeah.
I think I saw this week is it Windswept are closing down.
Right.
Yeah, and they're a nice beer from up north. I think they're from up north somewhere, but we've certainly drank them on the podcast before, and. They feature regular, or they used to feature regular in like Beer 52 boxes or Flavorly boxes. So
right,
quite sad if you don't go.
Aye, definitely.
So it's good that I think it's good for guys like Vault who've managed to find a niche and are really succeeding in that.
Aye. And that's it. It's like it's almost every January they kind of bring out the Iron Brew and people jump for it. So it's good because even when I picked up at the closest bottle shop I have in my end of Fife, and it was just when I walked in the shop, the girl behind the counter was like, "Iron Brew?" Like, yes. So I think that was the day where everyone was coming in asking for the exact same thing. But I think I don't know the flavor of the month or this month or maybe just this week seems to be that putty. Is it Verdant?
Oh yeah.
It's a double IPA, but it's described as beer of the year. Okay. And I mean, we're still in January, so that's very ambitious.
Bold. Yeah.
So, but I think that is also like another annual beer because I've heard about this plenty of times before, and it just seems to get brought out once a year. So there's this saying, "Come in, get the 2024 edition of Putty." So, but I've never bought into the hype. I might maybe next time I go there and they have it left, but the way they're talking about it online is like it'll be gone within days.
I wonder why that is. I don't know enough about Verdant. I'm just googling them as you talk, and it's certainly we've reviewed them on the podcast before. I've had. It's a good beer.
It's an old name. It's definitely something that you would get in beer boxes, but Putty seems to be like the speciality.
Yeah. Let's see what I'm looking at their list just now to see what I know I've had. I'm sure you get Verdant every so often and like Asda and that as well. So I don't think.
Yeah, that's I think they've always got kind of like a core beer in supermarkets now.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that as well. Like just to think, what was it 201 episodes? So we've been doing this for just under 5 years, and the amount of just the breweries that we maybe started out only being able to find in sort of niche places, just seeing them expand. And like, I mean, there's been plenty of breweries that we've seen kind of jump on the scene and then obviously unfortunately have to close. But there's also like Tiny Rebel's the one that jumps to my mind just because it's my favorite brewery. But there's just so many breweries that were like quite small that seem to be quite big now, and it's they've just gone from strength to strength. It's amazing. And Verdant seems to stand in my mind as one of them. Mostly Tiny Rebel, a couple of the ones out in Manchester as well. Is it Paloma Island? Is that one? Did I make that up?
No, that does sound familiar.
Yeah, I just remember only being able to get them in a few places and now sort of seen them in Asda, so it's pretty cool. Let's go. Right, Austin, I'm drinking that. It's a good. What's the beer you've got just now, Stu?
It is a Cold Town beer. I'm still working my way through those Christmas calendars. So this is the Pure Baltic Colds IPA.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
That's interesting.
Gosh, with the way the weather's been lately, it's appropriate.
Yeah, and when I think of Baltics, I think of like stouts and stuff. So that's quite interesting branding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Quite light and sweet for an IPA as well.
Nice. I like a Cold Town. They've got that house on what's the name of the street in Edinburgh? They've got a big Cold Town pub. The Grass Market.
It's like in the Grass Market, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice in there. It's
the most scenic pub, like bar you could find because it has Edinburgh Castle right behind it. So whenever anyone's in the Grass Market, like you cannot take a picture of the castle without getting like the Cold Town. I think it's house or something they call it, the Cold Town House in the photo, and it also looks like as if it was like an old church that's now been turned into a giant craft beer bar.
It's nice. It's a phenomenal building. As he sat in the beer garden, like out the back, is like there's nothing behind it apart from that road that the buses park on to go to like when you went on a school trip to the castle when you were wee, and they always parked in that they parked in that bit, and then you had to go up those stairs to get to the castle terrace.
Aye, and then those who survive then get to have a look at the castle.
Yeah, like it's nice. It's a nice big corner of the world. It's very cool.
Never been to the castle, ever.
Have you not?
I've been in the grounds, but I haven't been inside it. No school trips to the castle for me. The zoo, Edinburgh Zoo, and Stirling Monument. Remember that?
I would prefer the zoo to the castle. I went to the castle with a school trip last year, actually, and I liked it. It's good. My favorite time I ever went to the castle was my friend Chippy, who's one of my mates up in Elgin. Craig. He was like he started dating. He's now married to her, but he started dating a girl from Syracuse in the United States, and and she came over and she wanted to see Edinburgh because he's an Elgin boy born and bred. He just didn't know Edinburgh that well, so he was like, if I come down, can you show me about and just do like take my girlfriend around all the touristy stuff. I was like, and so I was like, yeah. So we booked the castle, we booked all that sort of stuff, and I've never known anybody to be so underwhelmed at like anything, like crown jewels, the view, all the the Stone of Destiny, all that sort of stuff that's on display at the castle, and the 1 o'clock gun, and all that jazz, and it was just like the pipers, and it's just like just wasn't feeling it at all. I've never really experienced it before. I think I can get quite I'm not even from Edinburgh, but I can get quite patriotic about Scotland just by being in Edinburgh when I sat. You know what I mean? Yeah. The most excited she got that day was when we watched the 50th anniversary Doctor Who special that night. She was like, "This is amazing! Oh my god!"
There you go.
All right, okay. Yeah. I've opened my Ossian. I'm wearing it. I've got a glass that's like, so you can't even see the colour. Beautiful beer though. Ossian was like my sort of first dive into craft beer when I used to go to Dunkeld quite a lot when I was a wee bit younger.
I love Dunkeld.
And there's that pub there. Sorry. There's that pub in there's that pub in Dunkeld that the dog's barking away. That Dougie McLean used to own, the musician. And,
right.
Let's go. Okay. How was it? So, John, we were chatting about just before we went to here. You read a few comics. What have you been reading?
I've read several comics actually. I'm planning to try and read at least something once a day, because I find it's something because of being on a screen all the time, you're reading stuff, you're not reading anything of substance. So at least when I say substance, I mean I'm reading a comic or something, but it's just something I'm catching up on my backlog. So I've read a few things. There's a podcast called the Thrilling Adventure Hour. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Okay, it's a thrilling adventure. It's been going for years. I picked up an issue of a comic last year. A lot of Shopping Heroes was doing like a 50p sale on comics, and I randomly picked up a comic, and it had an actress I quite like called Paget Brewster, who's in Criminal Minds. And I thought this is interesting. And I flicked through it, and the artwork's by Phil Hester, who did Kevin Smith's run on Green Arrow. Great artist. And it turns out it's a podcast. So I looked into it, and it's like a ye olde kind radio play that they do live, or they used to do live. And it's a core team that do it, but they'll bring in guests. They'll bring in like Nathan Fillion and Felicia Day and all different type of people, and they'll do it live. But they'll mix up the characters, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm really reading they've got a comic series as well, the Thrilling Adventure Hour, and they've got a cowboy hero called Sparks Nevada, which I've been reading, which is quite fun. Which then made me want to read some of the Flash Gordon comics that Dynamite did. So I've been working my way through the Flash Gordon comics, which are basically the Defenders of the Earth, but for like a modern era. So it's a lot of fun. So I read about 30 comics in the past couple of weeks, which is like unheard of for me.
That's amazing, man.
But I've just been chipping my way through all these kind of things. It's great fun.
Dynamite are great for that sort of. They've got a few. They've got a few contracts of so I didn't know they had like Defenders of the Earth or that, but they've also obviously got they have the license for the $6 Million Man as well, and they put a comment there, but like you say, just like subverting the genre slightly for like modern audiences and stuff like that as well. So
it's fantastic, and it turns out it's actually the guys that do the Thrilling Adventure Hour that did the comic as well, Ben Blacker, and it's a lot of fun. So, but speaking of Dynamite, I've actually just signed a contract to work for them. So,
I'll
be
congratulations.
Sketch cards though, not like comics, but sketch cards. So still Dynamite. I've done Vampirella for them in the past.
Yeah.
And they invited me to do Army of Darkness, but I had to pass on that due to short deadlines. I couldn't do it in the time. So I've signed up for Dynamite to do a cult horror series. So that'll be interesting.
Have they NDA'd you? Are you allowed to talk about it, or is it?
I can't talk about it just yet.
Oh,
I mean, it's nothing like major exciting, but it's something I haven't done before. So I'll give it a pop, And I've also signed up to do Ultraman as well. So I'm on Ultraman Series 4 for Richard Park's cards. So I've done Ultraman the past couple of years for them. So it's a lot of fun to draw big kaijus. Everyone likes to draw Ultraman, but I'm like, nope. It's all about the beasties for me.
We've got a kaiju story that me, Andrew, Colin, and David wrote a couple of years ago. We should see if you want to If you enjoy
I
writing
don't know
them.
about that. I don't know about that, but yeah, I certainly enjoyed. It's something different, it's something different from Star Wars. So, but yeah, so that's what I've been reading. A lot of that stuff. I picked up some more Giant Days as well by
Nice.
John Allison. So I picked up all those. I've still got one sitting. Mr. Andrew McGee got me one from Comic Con from Thought Bubble. He still has it, so I'll get it from him at some point. So yeah, I'm reading a lot.
It's interesting about like the subjectivity of that. Am I right? I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly, but he picked it up and then gave it a wee browse through and was like, "I don't enjoy this, but you really do." So it's quite.
It's not superhero-y. It's just gets down to earth, but the writing's really funny. And sometimes that's what you want. You want a bit of good writing. You want a nice bit, and the artwork's really nice and clean artwork as well. So it's cartoony, but not cartoony. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, just like that. I love that about comics in general. Just like we talk about quite a lot on the show about just how like I think when most people think of comics, they think of like your Marvel, DC superheroes, and don't realize that there's this whole complete like you can find anything you want in comics. And I've certainly found in the last couple of years been more drawn to like less sort of fantastic stories and more like so slightly humorous, maybe a wee bit scary, but like just I sort of more drama. But you're using comics as the medium to tell like a story about like just everyday things is amazing.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, if I was to pick samples from the pile I've got behind me just now, I mean, it's random. I mean, you're talking. I've got a bit of Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe by Rob Liefeld. Everyone's cup of tea, but that looks good to me. And then I've got Army of Darkness sitting behind me as well from Dynamite Comics. Also, comics have everything you want. If you can find any story you want. I mean, I know Andrew talks about find a writer that you like. And stick with the writer. Because I'm more art based, I'll find an artist I like, and I'll stick with the artist. So I quite like nice art.
It's the same. It's the same principle, though, isn't it? In its essence, like you're if you enjoy someone's art, you want to see. I think comics is a very unique medium for that as well. Actually, where you're like, if you enjoy someone's art, actually seeing their take on like unfamiliar or unfamiliar things is quite exciting. Like I'm trying to think for an example that I would like when you one of my favorite artists is Casper Vingard. So he drew a series called Angelic, which was incredible, and then for Image, and then he moved on from that to do he went and did Peter Cannon Thunderbolt.
Oh yeah,
and it was just like, I really like the Peter Cannon Thunderbolt series from like the 80s. Sorry, so it was like really excited to see his take on it, and then it was an experience, and I think it's the same as like following a writer, isn't it? If you like a writer and you're like, you like their style and you like what they bring to stories, following them on their journey, particularly, it's quite exciting as a comic. Like we all read a lot of indie stuff, so like finding somebody that then goes into like the big leagues in inverted commas, quite exciting. But you can do it with artists as well, can't you? So it's like following.
Well, yeah, the thing I find about artists as well is that obviously not all artists, as we know, do their own inking. Somebody will come in and do the inking for them, and depending on who the inker is, the artwork can look completely different. So it's something that's a bit of a weird kind of jam. Like for instance, the Snake Eyes one I just picked up. There's about 10 different inkers on it, and as you're flicking through it, the artwork is obviously Rob Liefeld, but it all looks different. It doesn't look the same, so it doesn't have the same cohesion. It's a bit weird, but yeah, it just shows you how an inker can operate differently than another inker and bring their own style to a title as well. It's quite interesting to see.
Yeah, I was thinking like amazingly the Alison Sampson, but she does her own. She does the writing and the pencils on most of her work. But so if you ever see her at a con, and and you get stuck in her orbit because she'll talk to you for like 20 minutes, half an hour. She's a fantastic person. Don't know how she sells anything because she's too busy just blethering. But she did Hit Girl a couple of years ago. But like,
Yes.
she's also really cool is that she'll show you her pencils, and then she'll have it along. She'll have like in a folder. She'll have like her pencils, but then she'll have like the finished artwork as well, and then she'll have the finished artwork with the letters, and just she's quite happy to talk about the process, and it's fascinating as well. Like, it's really really cool. It's fascinating. It's also just really quite incredible how, like, obviously you have your pencils, then you have your inks, and just how different they are, and what the inker has brought to the table, and then you get somebody that brought in the colors, and then what they bring in is like it's like a completely different experience every time you do it. So,
well, that's it. I mean, certainly when I do my own stuff, because I know what the finish I'm looking for, my pencils won't be completely tight. My pencils will be kind of loose and sketchy, so I can go in and put the details in afterwards. But recently I've had it's weird to get your own artwork digitally inked, and you look at it and you go, right, okay, so I drew that, but somebody else drew on top of that. That's bizarre, but it still looks like what I drew, which is it's weird. Getting somebody to ink your stuff is weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's again quite a unique medium for that sort of stuff. I really like for Spirit of Inky, I write everything and just send it off to get drawn, and I work quite closely with Jordan, so like we'll bounce ideas back and forth, and then I'll edit bits. And I don't think most writers do that, but I'll edit panels if they're not quite right, rather than have to go through the process of like getting back in touch with Jordan and being like, you need to change this panel. I'll do it. But certainly with Geoff of the Juniors, my last book, Geoff of the Juniors, like I brought in, instead of doing it all by hand myself, I brought in different artists, and that's a whole weird, like what you're kind of saying, that weirdness of like handing your work off and then somebody else taking it on board and doing stuff. Like, writing something and then sending that way to an artist is always a totally bizarre experience when it comes back, and it's like, sometimes it'll just be like when Jordan at the Spirit of Inky, he'll just draw exactly what I've asked him to. He'll make minor changes when he thinks it's appropriate for pacing or whatever, but he just draws exactly what I ask. Whereas had Peter and Monroe do art for Geoff of the Juniors, and it was just like Monroe just has a style that I was not really expecting him to bring to the book, which was and it's incredible, and I love it. Whereas Peter was like throwing in his own jokes. Whereas like I had I think in the panel description I just had like two. I think I actually just wrote something like two the video assisted referees in their VAR booth just messing about. Whereas he had them like playing, he drew them playing Rubik's cubes and eating sandwiches and stuff. And that was his interpretation of messing about.
No,
because I don't even know what I had. I just thought maybe I had them like swinging on their chairs and throwing airplanes or whatever. It's an amazing experience. But yeah, what you're saying, like somebody taking your work and making an alteration is always a bit strange. Like,
yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, it's been a good experience, but it is weird to see. It's like, right, okay, well, I contributed to that, but somebody else then finished it. And it's like, right, okay, odd, but just something you got to get used to,
Yeah, totally. Stu, have you been reading anything this week?
Nah. I would like to, but I haven't.
The back of beer cans.
I backed. So I mentioned Peter there earlier. So Peter Taylor is a friend of mine who we interviewed a couple of years ago, and then we interviewed him a couple of months ago. He has a series called Pioneers, Blood and Stars, which is like vampires in space, and it's amazing. I backed his Kickstarter, and it arrived today, and I haven't read it yet, but the artwork's incredible. The artwork's by Falk Hansel. It's absolutely amazing. The colours are great. It just looks absolutely sublime. But what I just wanted to highlight, what I love about Kickstarters is you get all this stuff. We talked about this before, like we interview a lot of folk that do Kickstarters where they'll say, the idea behind a Kickstarter is you're supporting the book at its grassroots level, particularly with independent comic book creators. Often when you're backing a Kickstarter, it's like you are contributing to that thing becoming reality, which I think is why a lot of folk get annoyed when you hear like big names like I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle roleplay game went up a couple of months ago and caused a bit of noise. So folk were like, why are Palladium Games, who are quite a big roleplay game company, using Kickstarter as a means of funding? And obviously, it happens all the time. I'm trying to think of another example. Keanu Reeves' comic book was initially Kickstarter.
Berserker, yeah.
Folk are like, why does Keanu Reeves need to use Kickstarter to fund the book? Like, whereas at sort of grassroots level, like I'll say, Kickstarter for Peter is the and for myself and for like Colin and that is like, it's the difference between a book becoming reality or not. But one of the things that makes Kickstarter so unique and so fun, particularly with independent comics, is all the wee perks you get by backing the book at that level that you wouldn't if the book was on sale in a shop, you would just buy the book. But got these beautiful postcards by different artists, and there's one there. It looks like the front of like a movie poster and stuff. It's just really, really stuff. Like,
cool.
Yeah, so cool. But I did read a book because, I do this for my Kickstarters as part of backing the book. What a lot of guys do on Facebook is they'll put out a call saying like, could people contribute a PDF of their comic book for my Kickstarter? And it's just a way of getting your book read by other people. So like I've done it loads of times where like if somebody backed some guy in America's book as one of their the perks for backing the book and getting a physical copy of the comic is you'll get a digital copy, but you also get digital copies of other folks' books as well. So because I backed Peter's Pioneers book, I got a link to a Dropbox drive that had 7 other comics in it from just obviously people that contributed. So I read one of them, and I've been reading a couple of these this week, and the one I read is 6 Swords by Sorry, I'm going to totally brutalize names here. There's this book called 6 Swords, and it's by Melchior Sapiendante, Matthew Perez, and Chris Massey. I'll see if I can get that so it can be seen on the. I can't even. Where's my comic? Here's my thingy.
Oh yeah.
So just a really cool. This is issue 1, but I'm already from 2017. So I would have totally slept on this when it originally came out. So, but I'm quite excited. So I'm like, oh, this came out in 2017, and it's part 1. So I'm now like going to be going online and see if I can get the digital copies of the subsequent issues. Hoping they exist, and like there's been more published in the last 7 years. But it's a really I remember reading it and being like, this is an awful lot like that movie Bullet Train.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm like, then obviously I looked at it and was like, oh, it was published in 2017. So actually it predates Bullet Train by about 5 years, which is also quite exciting. But it's about it's a really cool book about a group of, there's 6 of them, and they're all assassins that have all been hired to assassinate. They've all come to a futuristic New Orleans on a job, but they've basically all been hired to kill each other. So they've arrived, and one of the guys has got a contract to kill one of the other assassins, who's got a contract to kill the next assassin. And then there's a really amazing bit in the book where one of the assassins is about to commit a hit, and then the assassin that's been paid to kill him shows up behind him, and then he's got the first assassin's got a knife round the guy he's about to kill's neck, and then a knife shows up at his neck, and then a knife shows up at his neck, and vice versa. And then the panel like comes out, and there's 6 guys all with knives to each other's necks in like a row. It reminds me of like I'm trying to think what it was. Was there not that I don't know if you ever followed the guy, but I think he's a bit of a wrong one. But there was a wrestler who used to like you see in wrestling shows where one wrestler puts a wrestler in a headlock, and then the guy comes up behind him and puts him in a headlock, and then there's
not like Joey Ryan, is it?
Yeah, and it's just nonsense, but it's just like outlandish comedy, and I quite enjoyed it. So the book is that it's these 6 assassins that work out. They've all been hired to kill each other, and then obviously they've then worked out there's obviously some sort of conspiracy where we've all been hired, and they all reckon they've maybe been hired by the same person to kill. So they're now wanted. There's a hit out. They're stuck in a city that wants them all dead and knows that they're all there, and so they're obviously trying to work out who's trying to kill them. or who put the whole city's trying to kill them, and they're trying to work out who put the hit so that they would all do it. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Nicely drawn art, like pretty cool story. I'm really excited to find out what happens next. So.
Excellent.
And I wouldn't have even bothered looking at that if it had. I don't think I would have seen that at Con and picked it up. But I'm back to Kickstarter.
A lot of stuff I back is stuff I've seen on here. Where I've been, watching before I became a kind of regular. I would watch the show even if I didn't kind of chime in, and I would see, oh, that's quite interesting, and it'd be like issue 5, and luckily they've got like issue 1 to 4 digitally available and stuff. So I'd go back and back that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's always good to see what is out there. Yeah,
I think that's a really cool resource as well. That like I do it, but like sending out your issue 1. So I do it for Spirit of Enki. I'll send out an issue 1 to if I see on Kickstarter somebody's about to launch a Kickstarter and wants other folks' books as one of the perks. I'll send them in. Well, with the hope being that somebody goes into that drive as as a perk for backing a Kickstarter, finds my book, like, oh yeah, it's just more eyes on the product.
That's cool.
But it's pretty smart. I'm exactly the same as you, John, as well. I back so much stuff off Kickstarter. Very often I'll be interviewing somebody, or we'll be interviewing somebody on the show, and I'll have another window in the corner open, and I'll be putting in my bank details. So
I mean, there's one I backed. I backed a couple this week. I backed the comics scene Kickstarter, which we might even find out if we won an award next week. At least you guys have won an award because you were nominated. So who knows? You never know.
We're not as good at celebrating whether we've been nominated for awards as other people. I'm not very good at.
Well,
like, I think particularly with things like Comic Scene, and there's another group that do them every year, where we've been nominated there, but it's based on folk going, we've been nominated for an award, please share it, and I don't do that, so we never win anything.
Well, I shared it a couple of times. It's like,
I appreciate
click the link. But I've also backed. I've talked about this on the show in the past. It's The Hell issue 3. The Kickstarter's live now. I've got issue 1 here. You can see the wonderful artwork by Jason Miller.
That's beautiful.
It's very nice. Yep, set in the 90s. 2 video shop workers, and all hell raises loose, and it's very nice. Jason Miller did a fantastic comic that I quite liked called Death School, which was kind of like an 80s throwback. There's got a killer that's been wronged and just goes about killing everyone. Fantastic. So he's also done sketch cards in the past. But issue 3 of The Hell is out now to be kickstarted. I think he's doing well. I think he's almost there, and he's still got 3 weeks to go. So well worth checking out. It's very nice artwork. Kind of old school. A lot of good references. Yeah, that's recommended.
Kickstarter is just the treasure trove for independent. We've talked about, we and Colin started to do this when we first started the podcast, where we were just going to Kickstarter and pick like what we thought sounded like a good comic. I'm going to have it just now. Kickstarter comic. You could I could lose so much money just going on. Yeah, there's a discover bit. There's currently 27,040 comic or projects on Kickstarter that put comics in the So they've got everything. Like Dynamite have got their Dynamite have got the 30th anniversary of Disney Gargoyles up there.
Oh yeah, that's the recent one. Yeah, I know Boom Studios do quite a lot. They had a Power Rangers one recently. It's Amy Jo Johnson, Pink Ranger. She's wrote her own Power Rangers comic, so they had a Kickstarter for the Super Duper Deluxe edition. Yeah. But I reckon I'll just buy the regular issues when they come out. So
I think I'm the same. But it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see what she does, because I've been reading the Power Ranger, the Boom Studios Power Ranger comic for a long time, and until recently, maybe the last year or so, I stopped reading it. That certainly found it.
I'm
really cool.
still catching up. I think I'm at Beyond the Grid. Yeah, I think we just finished Shattered Grid. Yeah, so I'm still catching up. I bought all the trades, so I'm slowly getting there. But I've seen the designs for the Amy Jo Johnson comic, and it looks really good. The character designs are fantastic.
Beyond the Grid was the last one I read, and Beyond the Grid finishes in a nice wee tie-up point. And I remember thinking, and then it was. I think COVID had just sort of started, or it was ongoing during COVID. So I read I jumped in at Shattered Grid, and then bought all the back issues to catch up, and then read them all, and then read Shattered Grid's incredible. And then Beyond the Grid's really good fun as well. Totally different, completely different vibe. And then I think I stopped after that. But yeah, it's mad. But certainly what they did with Pink Ranger in that comic book, what they do with all the Power Rangers, it's just basically the guys written by folk who watched Power Rangers as kids and then grew up to write comics, basically, isn't it? It's like a really
exactly
takes all the fun and silliness of Power Rangers, but just lets it grow up a wee bit so that it all kind of makes sense and it feels like it's good. I remember reading the comic, and Sonny, my youngest, was about 5 or 6 at the time, and he was starting to see Power Rangers on the telly, and I was reading the comics and watching a couple episodes of Power Rangers at the same time and being like, the comics are so infinitely better at telling a story.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
And they probably could have got away with not being as sophisticated as they are, but they really have gone and done something quite special in the comics. So I totally recommend it for anybody that. What about Assorted Geekery? What have folk been up to this week with Assorted Geeks? What have we been watching? What have we been seeing?
Well, I've been catching. I didn't catch up, and I rewatched Masters of the Universe Revelation, because Masters of the Universe Revolutions dropped today on Netflix.
Yeah.
So that's the Kevin Smith. That was the one that created lots of hoo-ha from the fans. This is
I remember
woke.
hearing about that.
This is woke. And you know what? I enjoyed it the first time I watched it. I enjoyed the hell of it the second time I watched it. And I've literally came home from work, had my tea, and watched the first 3 episodes of the 5 that have dropped today on Netflix. So I'll probably finish it tonight, to be honest. They're 20 minutes an episode. Cracking stuff. Mark Hamill back as Skeletor. William Shatner's in it as a voice, so we've got Luke Skywalker and Captain Kirk in the same show. Meg Foster, the Eva Lynn from the Masters of the Universe 80s movie, she's got a voice role as well. So there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of geeky stuff, a lot of in jokes where you kind of like, oh right, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really enjoyed that.
Oh, that's amazing. I haven't seen it, but I have had a few folks say and I have read the hoopla of it. So I've heard the folk that love it. I've also heard folk that are like, what is this? But
no, it's genuinely good. Much in the same way that Scott Pilgrim cartoon upset quite a lot of people. Pretty much the same thing happened with the Masters of the Universe, But it gives progression to characters. Characters get some much needed backstory filled in. The characters evolve. And season 2 just now, it's fantastic, and the score is magnificent. The score is awesome. Honestly, it's so good.
Kind of goes back to what we were saying about Power Ranger comics as well. Is that. I think we have that nostalgic veil that we think about when we think about these sort of 80s and 90s properties. Master Universe sticks out in my mind. Power Rangers does. I'm trying to think of other examples where it was they were dealing with villain of the week. Thundercats as well, where they were dealing with villain of the week. Transformers maybe even as well, where it was just there was no character development, and by design, because I think they just assumed that kids didn't want to follow story arcs. So they were written in a way that they were produced in a way that meant that you could just watch at any point, and you didn't have to know what was happening before or after.
Exactly. Yeah, you can just drop in at any point, watch an episode, and be done. Yeah.
Whereas obviously that's not how we consume television now, or I don't think that's how we consumed television back then. Remember, whenever there was a 2 or 3 part episode of Power Rangers, being totally mind blown because it was actually allowing the characters to develop over a period of time. Whereas but yeah, I think I see that quite a lot. I'd quite and that's one of the major criticisms I've seen of things like Master Universe. They did not do She-Ra in the last 10 years as well.
They did a rebooted She-Ra, yeah, that was kind of more. It looked more kiddie version. Then they rebooted Thundercats. Did you ever see the reboot of Thundercats?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
it just looked terrible. I didn't even watch it. It looked terrible. It looked kind of like the animation was kind of like a Steven Universe type animation. It was like really, really kiddish. Thundercats Roar, I think it was called.
Oh yeah.
Oof. That's one way to surefire kill a property, But then the kind of kiddified a lot of things. They kiddified Transformers with like the rescue bots and stuff like that as well. So, it's a different thing for a different audience.
When I saw that Thundercats Roar, it was reminded me of Teen Titans Go, which I didn't personally like, but like it has its fans.
You know what? It's surprisingly I've never really watched the cartoon per se, but I watched the movie. Teen Titans Go to the movie. It's genius.
Yeah,
it's ridiculously funny. Just for like a comic fan, just for watching all the in jokes and Easter eggs. It's just stupid, Nicolas Cage finally gets to be Superman. Nicolas Cage gets the voice of Superman. Yeah, it's just stupid, but it's fun. So maybe I should have gave the Thundercats Roar a go, but never. It's one of those things until you watch it.
When I saw the adverts for it, and I didn't give it a go, but when I saw the adverts for it, that was the distinct impression I was getting from it. It was like, they're trying to do like Thundercats Teen Titan Go kind of vibe. So, and it's funny you mentioned Steven Universe, because my oldest was obsessed with Steven Universe for 2 or 3 years, and that's a great show. It's a really, really fun show, Steven Universe.
Well, I've never watched the show, but it was that type of animation, for when you think about Thundercats in the 80s, to then go to that type of animation, it was like, oof.
I would totally recommend Steven Universe. It's very good. It falls into that, for me, it kind of fell into that regular show, Adventure Time stuff. That's like, that's got that's it's on Cartoon Network. It's clearly got, it's like designed for 10 to 14s, but I think it's got the knowing look that's like your parents are watching this with you, so we're putting in stuff for them as well.
There was quite a few around about that era. There was like Steven Universe, Adventure Time, Gravity Falls as well. Kind of fell into that kind of thing, yeah. But I'll say the one that surprised me is, obviously I have a daughter. She's 16 now, so she doesn't watch the crappy TV she used to. But she used to watch Barbie, Life in the Dream House. Okay, surprisingly very, 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 very good. It was kind of like deconstructing Barbie before the Barbie movie came along. So obviously Barbie was aware that she was 60 years old. She'd had like 100 occupations, and because it was a cartoon and it was Hasbro and Mattel, they had like the Back to the Future hoverboard in it. They mentioned Star Wars and Star Trek. I'm like, what the hell? I just heard like I've seen a Back to the Future reference, a Star Wars reference. What's going on? It was genuinely funny. So it just goes to show you, there's a lot of stuff out there that will surprise you if you just give it a go.
I think so. I think that there's Sonny's 8 now, but when he was younger, he used to watch Hey Dougie. You have your kids would be like this as well. They do, and you watch like
we went through the Hey Dougie phase, the Teen Titans Go, and I'm almost get to a stage now where it's like, I'm actually now at the point where we're missing things. Like I see a lot of people talking about shows like Bluey.
Bluey's amazing.
Yeah. And it was like, my kids are past that now. They wouldn't watch something like that. I think they'd be embarrassed to watch something like that. But I hear so much like the adults will get so much out of watching. I'm like,
Bluey's a perfect example, to be honest. Bluey, like Sonny's 8, so Bluey, so I think is aimed at like sort of 4 to 7, and so Sonny was like perfect Blue age. We'll still put it on now as like if Sonny's feeling a wee bit unwell or a bit wound up.
Like a comfort.
It's good comfort telly. But Hey Dougie was the same, and I was always going to say I was watching the episode of Hey Dougie with Sonny a couple of years ago, and it followed the episode. It's the Riverboat Badge episode,
Right.
and it
Okay.
follows the exact plot of Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, and that's it. That was one of those programs where I was sort of genius with some of the things. Like,
Wait,
I remember one where it was like a fox trying to get in the hen house, and like they're just wondering why this fox is obsessed with trying to get in here. And it was like they don't know what's going to happen if he gets in there. But
got a monster.
There's a Peppa Pig episode when they I remember watching it with Sonny and being like where it's like Peppa Pig's dad's like he's like an architect and he builds a house and and as it's finished the Wolf family show up to like move in and Mr. Wolf like huffs and puffs at the house and it doesn't blow down. He's like, oh, I say this is a fantastically built house. And he just turns around to Daddy Pig and he's like, what's your house made out of? And Daddy Pig just looks at him and goes, it's also made of bricks, so don't even think about it. You're just like, that's very cool.
Yeah, no, I think like kids TV now has to, they know the parents are watching as well, so they will chuck in the odd thing now and again to, like if you've ever seen was it Hacker the dog, the puppet? I think it's on CBBC. There's lots of outtakes. It's very, very popular, and the outtakes became viral. And the guy goes to conventions now as the dog, with the wee puppet, and it's just crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff chucked in for obviously us.
Yeah,
not be like, this is rubbish.
I don't know if you've seen it yet. Have you seen the new Chip and Dale movie on Disney Plus?
You keep. I nearly watched it the other day and I didn't. I ended up watching.
It's just that. The whole film is based on that very premise that like it's a fun kids film, but adults are watching, so they go absolutely bananas with the inside jokes and like the background characters. And as I say, the fact that Ugly Sonic from the first the sort of the completely like critically panned first trailer of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and it like the CGI on that Sonic was so horrible that they completely they delayed the film so they could completely redesign Sonic. But Ugly Sonic is a main character in the Chip and Dale movie.
Awesome.
It's great.
Thing about Chip and Dale, which I never noticed about Chip and Dale is, and I've seen it a few times now, that Tom Selleck was originally cast as Indiana Jones before he had to pull out due to contractual obligations due to Magnum PI. If you look at Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, one of them dresses Indiana Jones, one of them dresses Magnum PI. One of them has the Flora shirt, one of them dresses Indiana Jones with the jacket and the hat, and I was like, no way! I think that's a wee nod to Tom Selleck.
There's a really good bit in the Chip and Dale movie where Dale so it's Chip's not in costume, like because he's quit showbiz to be a tax, basically become like a tax assistant. You go to him and he helps you with your what's it? A tax assistant. That's not the word. Is that
auditor?
An auditor, yeah, and that's his job. He just helps. He's a tax salesman and helps people like pick I think it's maybe like it's not maybe not tax, it's maybe like something like life insurance. This was an insurance. He basically quits television to become an insurance salesman. And there is a bit when they're like getting chased by the baddies and they're running through a Comic-Con and he runs through like a Indiana Jones themed booth, and that's where and he falls through a wardrobe, and as he comes out he's got his gear on, and you're like, oh, that's good. Well, it's good. It's a thoroughly enjoyable movie, and it like one of those movies you watch. I watched it because Sonny, it was the new thing on Disney Plus, and Sonny was like, "What can we watch that?" And I was like, "This is amazing." It's so silly.
No, it's been in my queue since it dropped, so it will be watched at some point.
Yeah, it's better.
It's your homework for next week.
Yeah. Oh, it's my homework for next week. Okay, right, okay. I'll get watched at some point. Yeah.
I fired through a couple of movies this week. I watched the Holdovers. You seen the Holdovers yet with Paul Giamatti?
No, I want to. It's on standby with a few others.
Yeah, it's good. Really good. There's a teacher who set in the 60s and a teacher who doesn't have anywhere to go at Christmas, so he gets kind of roped into he works in a boarding school and he gets roped into staying there over Christmas to look after the kids who don't go home over the Christmas holidays. It's just quite nice. It's good. Paul Giamatti is absolutely incredible in it.
I got choked up just watching the trailer.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be quite screwball. I thought it was going to be a bit silly, like it's one of those movies that sort of writes itself, where you're like, oh, you know where this is going to go. He's going to hate the kids are going to hate him, and then there's going to be a bonding moment, and blah blah blah. And it is that. The real problem is, it's also really really deep, and I was just like, oh, that's really good. So yeah, everyone should see The Holdovers. I think it'll be one of the films that most people will watch this year and be like, that was a highlight of cinema this year. I also watched the Marvels. You know,
Oh yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed that.
I'm waiting a month till it drops on Disney Plus, and I'll watch it. I say for free. I'll watch it on my subscription.
To the cinema to see it, and only one's there, but still, like that thing with the cat in the third act was amazing.
Yeah.
There's a cat in the third act.
Spoilers. Now there's a cat in it. God damn it.
Yeah. You know what cat I'm talking about. The cat is back.
I've seen the spoilers.
I really enjoyed it. It was on in my local audience, and it was like, you know, the Saturday morning
the
stuff.
Morning Savers. Yeah.
So I just went along. It's good. I thought Brie Larson comes off really well in it, and I know there's a lot of I don't tend to dwell too much on Facebook threads and deep diving into it. I know there's a lot of heat on her, and I know there was a lot of heat on the first Captain Marvel because the woke brigade got involved and just made noise about nothing basically. But I really enjoyed. I thought she came off really really well in it.
I think spends a majority of the film running around in a white tank top. There's nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
I like Brie Larson. I'll watch anything she's in. I don't care about the woke brigade. So Brie Larson.
I don't read enough about. I don't read enough about I don't read enough about what the complaints or what the imagined annoyance is. So I just remember when that first Captain Marvel came out, there was a lot of anger being directed in her direction, and I was like, the young lady that plays Miss Marvel.
Oh, is it Kamala Khan?
Yeah,
she's
great. I've not finished Miss Marvel on Disney Plus yet, but she was good in that. But she's absolutely amazing in the Marvels. Just completely her character is just totally different to everything else that's going on.
Exactly.
That actress's story is impressive. She was a cosplayer, and her grandmother put her name forward for the auditions for Miss Marvel. So she was a cosplayer. She now stars as Miss Marvel and now writes the Miss Marvel comic for Marvel as well.
Was that right?
Yeah. So it's just a full circle. I'm like, wow, that's impressive. But yeah, no, she's very good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Her grand will be like, I want 20% of everything you earn. It was me that got you there.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
It just what also quite like I quite like. I know there's folk complained about it often, and obviously, I watched a couple of podcasts and listened to a couple of podcasts when the Super Mario Bros. Movie came out about the placement of songs in films and how it can be really distracting and stuff like that. But the Marvels had another inclusion of the Beastie Boys, who are one of my favorite bands ever, and
there's Sabotage, is it?
Yes, no, it's
Intergalactic.
Intergalactic, great song.
So, in 4 of my favorite films in the last wee while have all had Beastie Boys songs in it. I don't think that's a.
They aren't complaining.
They're not considering it. I feel bad for because one of them passed away about 5-6 years ago, didn't he? But they must be having this bizarre, particularly on streaming services. The Beastie Boys must be having a bizarre resurgence in sort of royalties, and that I imagine there'll be some, because obviously there's that phenomenal scene in Star Trek and Star Trek Beyond. They're probably the best scene in that whole movie when Sabotage is playing, and then Mario Brothers and Guardians of the Galaxy use No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Intergalactics and the Marvels. So that's like, there'll be other examples as well that I can't quite pull out of my head.
Like mind a couple of years ago, like Stranger Things with that Kate Bush song, and the same. I think people were talking about Saltburn and that is it Murder on the Dance Floor.
Murder on the Dance Floor. Yeah.
Exactly. Just like all of a sudden, like you could give I don't know permission to use this song, and then all of a sudden it becomes like a big viral hit, and then hopefully like royalties come in well, and it's not just like maybe Spotify was we made a tenner. Yes.
Yeah, it's this thing with Spotify though, is it's a fraction of a penny you get off Spotify, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was laughing there. Like today is the 5th anniversary of. I used to be in a punk band, and today's the 5th anniversary of us releasing our single, which is basically me spending a tenner to put. There's services online that you pay them, and then you send them the MP3, and then they'll distribute your song for you on all the different streaming platforms. It cost me a tenner, and I got my so that I could get us on Spotify, YouTube Music, all the like Amazon Music, all that sort of stuff. And they just send it out for you, so that whatever your streaming platform is, if you ever wanted to Google, if you ever wanted to search up my band, the song would be there. I did that 5 years ago, and have yet to make my tenner back. Obviously, folk listen to my band's one song that we released won't have anywhere near the amount of listeners that But I mean, I was in the pub last week. And they were playing like the UK chart show on the telly where we were there, and that Murder on the Dance Floor was like number 7 last week. In the charts. You know what I mean? Like that song got released 20 odd years ago.
Exactly.
And,
I think it was at 2 the week before or something. Yeah. So it's just it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I've not heard what she said. I've not heard what her feedback on that is. I know that when I like Sophie Ellis-Bextor, I saw her last year at a music festival. She was on a stage in Linlithgow when I was away to see the Human League. She seems really sound and quite down to earth, and she I think made herself a bit of a. She got herself like a massive following on her radio show during lockdown because she did a kitchen.
She had she made like a little show in her house every a week or.
No, I follow her on the socials, and she's really happy with the fact that it's back in the charts again. She's like 22 years after it first came out, and it's back in the charts again. It's like, and then I thought 22 years, and immediately thought very, very old, and cried on it.
That makes me feel old. I saw her in, I can't remember what it was. She was in Falkirk. It was a big day out in Falkirk. The BBC Radio 1 hosted. And I went along because me and my alternative music listening friends went along because it was free and 100 Reasons were playing. No one knows who 100 Reasons are anymore. But Sophie Ellis-Bextor was there. Blue were there. Top Loader.
Blue. Wow.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So that is our review of the Marvels. The Marvels was good, and I don't want to reveal the spoilers, but definitely did some interesting stuff. Quite a good mid-credit sequence that I enjoyed.
I can't even remember that.
It's interesting watching I obviously follow all this stuff on social media, and I try not to read much, but obviously am I right thinking there's big upheaval with the new Daredevil's getting kind of butchered? It was supposed to be 16 episodes, now it's only going to be 8 or 10 maybe. And
it was meant to be 18. I think it's going down to 13.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
But it's been completely retooled. They retooled it completely. They fired all the people that were working on it, and they've retooled it completely. And I think they're bringing Foggy and Karen back as well. So because they weren't in it originally, which is stupid if you ask me. Because they're a great part of the show.
Yeah.
To understand, they filmed loads of it and have ditched.
All of it, I think.
Feige not look at it and be like, yeah, this is unmanageable, and just got rid of it.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but what I've read is that they're just starting from scratch again. So, but at least it's going to get released as opposed to Batgirl, which just got shit canned completely. Which I was thinking about today actually. Michael Keaton popped up on my feed, and I was like, "Oh, can you believe they filmed Michael Keaton as Batman in the whole film, and they've just shelved it, which is outrageous." And they've also, there's a lot of different stuff happening in DC. They dropped Ben Affleck from Aquaman 2. He filmed the cameo for that.
Yeah.
We also saw The Flash. There was 3 different endings. Ben Affleck was meant to be at the end. Then Michael Keaton was at the end. Then we ended up with what we got. It was very strange.
You would think, right? That's all absolute prime like DVD material. Like we're gonna release it on Blu-ray with 3 alternative endings.
Do it, yes. Release it on streaming. Just do a Zack Snyder Justice League. The people want it. They were noisy enough about it. It came out and it was better than what we got. So I would say
the Batgirl one, particularly now that they're shutting the DCEU down and restarting it, aren't they?
Yeah, they're restarting it. Yeah.
The Batgirl one still baffles me because, like, Warner Brothers have got a streaming platform, don't they? Is it HBO's owned by Warner Brothers, or Warner Brothers is owned by HBO?
I think it was originally getting made for HBO Max, or Max, as it's called. Yeah.
My understanding was it's finished. It was ready to go, and they were just like, "Yeah, we're not going to release this." And you're like, "Because it's."
I think they still had some of the effects and whatnot to do. But it was due to like tax breaks. There's a few things that fell under the axe. There was the Scoob 2, the Scooby-Doo CGI movie with Mark Roberts. Scoob 2 got chopped. There was a Scooby-Doo animated movie.
I think even that got leaked online as well.
The animated movie. Scoob 2 didn't.
Actually available there. Like some guy at Marvel, some guy at Warner really needs to take a bullet and just put that online for the world.
Well, the directors apparently ran to the servers and it had already been taken off the servers because the directors were trying to salvage their work, and they go to the servers and like, oh shit, it's already gone. Warner's obviously learned. Yeah.
Like the idea that I think the tax break argument for Batgirl was that it saved money, it would have lost more money being released and not being. I don't really understand that.
And then they said it was unreleasable because it wasn't good, and I thought to myself, well, I mean, Keaton came back for it. Brendan Fraser came in for it. It's like I don't know. They filmed in Glasgow for months. Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah, I like the Glasgow's Gotham. Certainly found there was a lot of fun watching. That was probably what, I suppose that's quite a niche thing, but I love Glasgow. I spend a lot of time in Glasgow. So seeing clubs and pubs that I frequented on The Flash as he's cruising down Gotham, he's cruising down Main Street Gotham, chasing terrorists. I'm like, yeah. So
I went to watch that getting filmed. I went to Glasgow twice that summer. The first time was when they did Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
So I turned up on a day that they weren't filming, unfortunately, but all the shots were still made up as 1960s New York, and it looked amazing. Just the detail was crazy.
Yeah.
Because obviously the layout of Glasgow is similar to the layout of New York. The same architect. I don't know. Maybe I'm bullshitting. But it was very impressive to see. And then when I saw the film, I thought, Jesus, they did that well. And then I went up on 2 weeks later to watch The Flash getting filmed, and I saw the Batfleck on the bat bike. Obviously, it wasn't Affleck, but it was a stuntman. I saw the bat bike touring about Glasgow. That was pretty cool. Yeah,
it was one of my. I don't know if it was you guys that told the story to before, but it was one of my I've got a pupil at my school who is from who's from Iraq, and his English is great now, but for he's been at the school for about a year, but just when he first came and they didn't really know where to place him because he didn't speak good enough English that he could go to mainstream classes. So they basically put him in my room, and they're just like, we want him to socialise and get comfortable with where he is and stuff. And we were chatting about Glasgow. I was chatting about Glasgow to a couple of people, and he was like, "Oh, I like Glasgow." So we were. I was trying to just get him to. I was being my geeky self, but trying to come up with ways to maybe excite him a bit and be like, why Glasgow was really smart. So I managed to find footage of the Batpod in Glasgow, and it was on YouTube, and it was just a really cool frame shot where somebody's standing. I think it said the Polo Lounge, which is a club I like in Glasgow anyway. The guy standing outside the Polo Lounge, looking up towards Queen Street Station. So I put the video up. The boy was like, oh, he recognised Queen Street Station as where he probably gets off the train when he's going there.
Aye.
And I was like, keep watching. And Batman came past, and he was like that. He was like you could just see the lights twig. I was like,
yeah.
Batman's in Glasgow. They filmed Batman in Glasgow, and he was like, that's amazing. It's like, so it's cool.
It's very cool.
I also watched for probably the 5th time this year. Watched the D&D movie again. It's so good. It's one of my probably one of my new comfort movies. Is the D&D movie.
Really? I watched it once, and it was fine. You know, it was entertaining enough. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I got dragged to the cinema to see it. I didn't really have any intention, but it was like cheap Mondays. Come on, the wives are having wine. We could go out and catch a film, and I just laughed at it so much more. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be funny, and it was just not what I expected at all. Yeah. Like, just all those memes of like Chris Pine and his face melting, and like Hugh Grant being Hugh Grant.
I've got a brand new. It's not a new movie, but it's bizarrely. I keep thinking about it all the time. And I'm thinking, Rick, I want to watch that again. It's The Nice Guys. You seen The Nice Guys?
That's brilliant.
Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Shane Black. Aye.
Shane Black at his best. I mean, I love
like
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And like the various Shane Black films he wrote back in the day, Last Boy Scout, Long Kiss Goodnight, and whatnot. And The Nice Guys. The first time I watched it, this is genius. I'm like, you know what? I quite fancy watching it again. So about a month later, I watched it again, and then I'm like, I quite fancy watching The Nice Guys. And I thought to myself, I just watched it a month ago. I can't watch it again.
There's a few films like that, really. Like, I've still seen The Nice Guys. I need to watch it.
It's a good film to see that Ryan Gosling has like comedic chops. I'm saying I haven't seen Barbie, so I imagine that's quite a comedic role as well. But the way that he's like this loser down on his luck in The Nice Guys, like when like he accidentally like cuts his arm trying to break into like was he not trying to break a window to open a door and just like slashes his wrist. And it's like, oh, fuck. Oh, no. Or where he's in the toilet and he's having to keep the door shut and drops a cigarette into his trousers. And like, the guy's got the comedic chops. It was the brilliant chalk and cheese between him and Russell Crowe.
Yeah, just such a fantastic movie. There's actually a novelization as well, which I'm tempted to get. I'm interested to see how the novelization would work as well, yeah. So it wasn't one of those ones that was based on a novel, but they wrote a novelization of it. It's like I've got the Quentin Tarantino
to the film.
Yeah, you know, like back in the day when they used to do a novelization of things, you get like the novelization of Alien or Star Wars as a kid, or The Goonies or what have you. Well, Tarantino did one as well. Tarantino did a novelization of his own film.
Aye, that was
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and it's like, wow, okay.
I got the audiobook for that, and it was Jennifer Jason Leigh done the narration.
Oh, nice.
And it was just amazing. And it just goes into so many different directions that also the film didn't go. It went deeper into things. It went further past points, and I loved it.
It's funny, I was talking about novelizations today to someone, and how that to pad out the novelization, obviously the writer would create new stuff, you know, and the novelization would normally be based on an earlier version of the script. So it'd be different from the movie. So basically, you get like deleted scenes or the original alternate ending or what have you.
Aye.
So I used to like that novelization back in the
day. It always seems wild. Like,
it's always good fun.
If you're going through Instagram and randomly you see someone posting a picture of the novelization of like Rocky 2. Like,
yeah. The stuff I didn't even know. Yeah, the stuff I didn't even know had been novelized, and I thought, how is that? What?
Aye.
I didn't actually realize how big a market a novelization was. Because obviously I used to have like the Star Trek ones and Star Wars ones, but I still do some actually.
It's almost like one of those things where, right, we've got a film, we're coming out, and then like the Pixar, right, we need you to turn it into a book. Like,
exactly,
what? Here's the screenplay. Just put in lots of verbs and adjectives and go.
Yeah.
I don't know if you covered it, but I was away, so I apologise if I'm treading over. What I quite like about some of the novelizations is sometimes they'll send it the novelization where they've got a final cut of the film that the book's based on.
Yeah.
So you get plot details that have been like omitted from the final edit of the film, or or complete changes. Like I remember reading the Phantom Menace novelization before maybe 2 or 3 months before the film came out. It's a totally different experience. I really enjoyed it. Particularly, it delved into like Obi-Wan Kenobi a wee bit more. So rather than being kind of like a petulant and annoying like Padawan, he ends up, he's like a more established Jedi Knight, and he's like, I remember being like it's probably the earliest example. I was maybe about 12 or 13 when Phantom Menace came out, and being like, they did Obi-Wan totally dirty in this movie compared to his novelization counterpart.
Yeah, there's a lot of novelizations out there. I mean, the Star Trek V, obviously, I think most people say it's the worst Star Trek film. If you've ever seen it, it's The Final Frontier, the William Shatner written and directed one. Which, you know what? I don't mind it. I like the film, but the novelization so much better.
I haven't read the novelization.
It has. Yeah, I mean that film was done dirty due to like budgetary cuts and whatnot. Because I've read William Shatner and his daughter wrote a book about it, like the making of it, and the original vision was like, wow, okay, like they wanted Sean Connery to play the renegade Vulcan. You know, the Spock's half brother was meant to be Sean Connery, and that's why Heaven's called Shakari. That sounds like Sean Connery, yeah. So yeah,
he was still doing the Last Crusade, wasn't he? He couldn't make it because he was doing Indiana Jones.
Well, I think he just didn't want to do it. You know, he went no. Because they came out the same year. Yeah, it was Star Trek and Last Crusade came out the same summer. Yeah.
I put movie novelization books into Amazon just to kind of see what, and the list of what they've got is amazing. Like
most major films.
Five Nights at Freddy's official movie novel, Interstellar, Halloween Ends.
I mean, it's just bizarre.
Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back into
sorry, John.
If you go back into the 80s, they were all. Alan Dean Foster was the man that wrote most of the ones in the 80s, and he was the one that did Star Wars. He wrote Star Wars, even though it's Star Wars by George Lucas. It was Alan Dean Foster. He wrote that. There's a lot like Star Trek, the motion picture by Gene Roddenberry. No, that was Alan Dean Foster. So there's a lot of these things out there.
Oh, they've even got an omnibus of the 2 Ghostbusters movies.
Yeah.
I read loads of them when I was younger because I think it was my mum and dad couldn't really be either arsed or bothered, or like it was just quite expensive to take me to the cinema. So they were just like, we spend £4 on a book. It's that whole like, can we go to the cinema? Can we to watch that film? You've got the novelization at home.
Exactly.
Use your imagination.
Yeah.
So,
I've just seen that Greg Keyes has a novelization of Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire. It comes out on the 16th of April, so that's like a month. Oh no, 29th of March. So it must be same as like releasing cinemas, because I thought we could read it now and find out what happens, but no.
They used to do that. They used to do that back in the day. I'm surprised now. It's like no, the novelization comes at like 6 months afterwards or something.
The novelization of Boss Baby.
Spoilers, wasn't it? You could like
I mean
like that.
Yeah.
You talk about the Phantom Menace, Geoff, reading that before the film. Now that would never happen. I read the comic adaptation before the film, so I knew what was going to happen when I watched the movie. Never happened now. Never.
I know, like a lot of folk. I'm on a couple of Facebook pages where they like a lot of people will like look at like toy magazines and stuff like that, or like or they'll get it's not the toy magazine, but the magazine that like toy shops get when they're the ordering book that they get for when they're. And that's quite a good indicator for particularly your Marvel movies and stuff. Like if they're because they release figures that might give away.
If there's like a surprise villain you're not supposed to know about, then all
the Lego set or the Funko Pop,
exactly.
On the back of the box,
the bad guys before the film does.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that there's to spoil things for people, but mainly arseholes on the internet. To spoil things. Like, something being on the TV, then like a second later there's a screenshot. I was like, what the hell? I'm at work for 10 hours. Ooh.
A novelization of Rebel Moon.
There you go.
I'm closing the window.
Oh, there's a comic book coming out of that. They're going deep on the old Rebel Moon. Which I still haven't watched it, to be honest.
I enjoyed it.
There's a comic series book sequel coming out in April. I believe the sequel's out on Netflix.
Yeah, it's not that far away. I thought Rebel Moon was alright.
And there's a director's cut of the film coming apparently, which is completely different to the cut you've watched on Netflix already. So what's the point?
What cut, sorry?
A director's cut. Zack Snyder says there's a harder cut than the PG-13 or 12A version that's available on Netflix. He says there's an adult cut.
I'm holding out on you, so it's just like a dealer. I'm giving you a taste. And
that's
then
maybe Netflix. I thought Rebel Moon felt. I know Justice League got total butchered to absolute hell, and so the Snyder cut was like very necessary, or like I could see maybe not necessary, but I could see the value in its release.
Yeah.
But like a Snyder cut of Rebel Moon feels very Snydery anyway. Like I didn't watch it thinking like it had been butchered by a studio or anything like that. I don't know if it.
Well, no, it's a harder cut. It's more adult apparently. So
you want bloods and tits? They're coming.
Oh my word!
Blood covered tits, maybe.
Oh my god! Even better.
And before we move on to other random shit, the other thing I watched this week was that I've been binging it like hell for the last 2 weeks. Is Ghosts. We talk about it quite a lot on the show.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I'm on season 3. Yeah, it's really good.
I've started it, and I need to go back to it.
It's really good. It's really funny.
It's funnier than I thought it was going to be. I've just finished season 4. The Christmas special of season 4 really caught me. But yeah, just a perfectly balanced of. It's very funny. It's clever in a way. Like I've read up about it since, and that whole thing about it was filmed in a way that meant like older kids could watch it and be like feel like they're watching that whole I'm watching some. It's like got the tongue in cheek. I'm watching something that I maybe shouldn't be watching vibe to it as well. Like it's a bit saucy, but not very. And there's like but no, I really enjoy it. Very very cleverly written. I like some really good character development as well. So there's some characters that are. Well, I remember watching season 1 and thinking that's a one trick pony. That's a one joke character. But actually, they've managed to develop it. The sort of the conservative MP who died. He's just walking around in his. He's walking around with trousers
with no trousers on. Aye.
Yeah, so funny.
I think that's a very funny joke, but one that can get thin very quickly. But he gets enough development that you're like, oh, actually, this is quite good.
Yeah, no, it is a good show. Yeah, I need to get back and watching it again. But I've been watching Gone Fishing with Mortimer and Whitehouse on BBC. But I detest fishing. I've never been. I don't fancy going ever. But they make it look good, and it's funny as well, and it's moving, and it's interesting, and the scenery is amazing. And I'm like, we live in this country, and I don't see any of this stuff. So it makes you want to go out and about and see the stuff, and then think to yourself, or I could just watch it on telly. Yeah.
I was talking about Dunkeld earlier. I was talking about Dunkeld earlier, and I watched season 1 of Mortimer and Whitehouse Go Fishing, and I made up that exact point where I was like, they get to see like towns and villages from certain perspectives. So the last time I was in Dunkeld a couple of years ago, I deliberately went down to the river and like right onto the riverbank to look at it. Yeah, you're like, I've been here like every 6 months for 10 years and never seen the town look so beautiful. You know what I mean? It's just like that. There's just that perspective. We talked about it. I remember a couple of years ago, me and Andrew were watching it, and my friend Tom was watching it as well, and we sort of discovered that we were all watching it while we were having this conversation in the pub. And it's like my friend Tom was like, it's mindfulness for men. It's like that sort of like it ticks a box for like guys our age. They're like, there's not I imagine there's a lot of television aimed at different demographics that punch the same wound, or like tug at that same heartstring, but we maybe miss it because of we don't fall into a demographic that normally has programs like that aimed at them. So,
well, that's it. I mean, it's not just about the fishing. That's the thing that I like about it. Yeah, fair enough to catch fish, and it's really good to see Bob falling down all the time and get really enthusiastic about catching a fish. But it's also about, obviously, they started because of their mortality. You know, Bob had serious illness. Paul Whitehouse has it, and as a person who is obviously older than you guys, it's hitting me a bit as well, because I'm like, Jesus, well, I'm 48 now, so I've been watching these guys for like 30 years on TV, and seeing them get older, and I'm getting older as well. It's kind of the thoughtfulness behind the show as well, and the fact that they always bring a doctor on, I think Dr. Arnaudas or something. They bring him on, and he comes in and he talks to them about stuff, and it's interesting. And it's just an easy watch, and it's pleasant to watch. So yeah, I binged it all last year, and I'm watching the 6th season now. I think I'm about to do the Christmas special from Christmas Day, or the Hogmanay special.
I've not seen this year's one yet. It's the only one I've not seen. I thought last year's Christmas special was brilliant, when they're like, I think they're in North Yorkshire, and they're just like buying, they're buying like cheese and all that nonsense while they're out there, and it's just a good show.
Yeah, no, it is a good show.
I've been watching all the episodes of Shooting Stars. With Sonny recently, Claire and Sonny have been watching Shooting Stars, and like just seeing that doesn't feel like it's that long ago, and maybe it's like season 8, so it's like 2010. That's like 14 years ago now. That's 14 years ago. And
sure, I saw something today. The Shooting Stars like cast are all doing like a UK tour.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was a friend I know that like lives in Brighton. It posted that he bought tickets for it.
I'm going to Google that just now.
Shooting Stars. I know there's a Drop of the Donkey tour.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, but it's only down south apparently for some reason. So I don't know.
Do you want to watch shit I've been watching lately?
What's that?
Okay, so I've been working on the old movie poster. Let's see if we could.
Oh yes,
look,
you're
a lot more colour now.
Look at that.
Yeah, I'm almost. That's I think 40 out of 100.
That's okay. Right.
So I hit the couple of classics: Jaws, Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting.
Oh
come
my
on,
God.
That's what Holder reminded me of. Actually, it was Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, when you started talking about it, it made me think I need to bring this up, because with like Matt Damon's character testing all those psychiatrists, and when he does it with like Robin Williams' character, and he makes a joke about his wife, and he grabs her by the neck and just threatens like, I will fucking end you. And it's just like goosebumps. Absolute amazing film on Netflix. Evil Dead, like the very, very, very first one, and like that was a dirty, grimy, crunchy movie. Like that's such a gross film to watch. And something more recent, I watched Killers of the Flower Moon, this new Scorsese movie on Apple. I started at like 6 o'clock because that was like a 3.5 hour movie, and it was epic. It was really good. But god damn, it's such a dark film.
I love it. I love Scorsese stuff, but like I haven't seen. He did that one. He did not do the one on Netflix as well. That's like
The Irishman.
a bit mafia-ish. Yeah, I don't know why I haven't seen it yet, because I really enjoyed it.
With this one, he didn't need to use any de-aging effects, thankfully. But no, I do quite enjoy some of the later Martin Scorsese films like that, and Silence. Silence is an outstanding movie, which maybe a lot of people slept on, but you've got like Adam Driver, Andrew Garfield, Liam Neeson's in it slightly, but it's set in like feudal Japan, and it's Oh, it's just an amazing film. Another film that kind of like just crushes you over the course of 2 hours. But yeah, once a year, I'm happy to be crushed by Scorsese. But no, we've been trying to catch up with shows as well. Started watching the new series of True Detective, Night Country. We went through 2 episodes of that last night. It's like a 6-part special, and it reminds me so much of The Thing. There's like a science station, a science research post in is it Iceland? One of these places where it is dark for days on end, and the 12 people that are in the research station disappear. And Jodie Foster's the cop that's investigating, trying to find out what's happened to people and where have they ended up. And then there's also the story of like a girl that was killed, which the other cop is looking into. So we binge watched the first 2 episodes last night. Really good. And yeah, I'm also trying to finish The Curse, which is on Paramount Plus, and that's the Nathan Fielder, Emma Stone series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that is very weird and awkward, but still, I'm enthralled. I want to kind of see where it goes.
A serious amount of good telly, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, I watched Reacher season 2 was fantastic on Amazon
yeah.
Prime
I've been
as well.
meaning
So
to try that.
yeah, Reacher, very very good show.
Right. We started. Are you going to head off, John?
I'm going to have to go, guys. Yep, but it's getting past my bedtime. Okay.
No worries, man.
Take care, guys, and I'll speak to you later. Okay, bye.
Take it easy, John.
I started watching. We have a running joke in our house. Most of me and Claire sit and watch telly together. She hates telly, so like, we've seen the first episode of just about every program you can imagine, and I always get really invested, and we never forget to finish them. In Reacher, I think we got to about episode 4 of season 1. I'm like, oh, this is really good, and Claire's just like, nah, I'm finding this fucking shit. So we never. This is another show that goes in the pile. We that's almost an hour and a half. That is an hour and a half. Do you want to do some wrestling chat?
Yeah, whilst we're here, I've still got a wee slug of beer left. I opened this, which is like your Lidl's beer.
Nice.
Oh, fuck it. Get off my face.
There you are. Tropical Trossix. That's a great name for a beer.
I think this is one of these ones where it's maybe secretly a Stuart Brewing beer, but brewed exclusively for Lidl's.
Yeah, it's got the Stuart have got that kind of tartany, patchworky can art is their kind of gimmick.
And that's not too far off it.
Yeah.
So I'm still determined to go book a brew day with them and go brew my own beer this year.
I was up that way last week and I didn't stop at Stuart. They're down by it's like
Lonehead?
Yeah, Lonehead. So yeah, near Costco and IKEA.
I definitely need to. The plans are just to create the Lagerlogs beer this year. I just need to get my finger out and book it. But wrestling. We won't talk about everything that's going on Twitter/X this evening. Lots of allegedlys and Vince McMahon's. So we'll steer clear of that.
Yeah.
And
we do where we have done in the past that we spin off because we're both massive wrestling fans. So so thank you everybody that's been watching the Brewgooders.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week. If you want to hang around, let's chat. Here's chat wrestling. That'd be absolutely amazing. But it's just another thing that we do. And if you go on the Brewgooders YouTube channel, you will see we do beer, we do comics. We've also got a wee football podcast on exclusive to YouTube called The Brew from the Terrace, which is me and Andrew and our friend Tom chatting about like we sat together to watch the FA Cup draw last week. We did some bits and pieces. But also, me and Stu in the past have done the Brew Age Outlaws, which is just beer and wrestling. So we're just going to drink our beer and talk the wrestling. Going to obviously make it into bite-sized chunks, but if you tune in with us just now, you'll get 20 minutes, half an hour, and then or 3 episodes or whatever. So just enjoy. The big news for me this week, I thought, is that this Netflix stuff is mental.
Yes.
Yeah.
The $1 billion deal, billions. What was it? 5 billion over 10 years.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Like, Netflix will be the home of Monday Night Raw for 10 years.
And is it just Raw that is getting Netflix are getting it?
From what I saw on other podcasts that I watch, in America it's just Raw, because obviously I think Fox have SmackDown, the CW has NXT, and Peacock has the premium live events. But outside of the US, let's say the UK, supposedly we get the lot. As if the network and the shows when they happen, which is nuts. I can't imagine watching a 3-hour Monday Night Raw live. What's going to happen with the advert breaks?
We say that I've in the UK. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but our advert breaks are different than the US advert breaks. So sometimes when you're watching Raw or SmackDown, or even I've seen it on rare AEW Dynamite's a bit different.
Yes, it's obvious on them.
Yeah.
The commentary gets far more relaxed.
Yeah, you could when you watch it on Raw, you can see things slow down. Like it just in the commentary stops for 2 minutes, and it's really weird. It's like all of a sudden your match just slows down to a headlock
exactly
for a couple minutes, and then it picks back up again. And you're like, the atmosphere on the feed total dies in it. It's just because our advert structure is different than America's. So no, I think it might improve Raw if they're talking about cutting out ads. Like if you watch AEW Dynamite, they their issue is that they don't slow down during the break. So then when it comes back, they then have to show you 5 or 6 replays of what you missed because they haven't slowed the match down. A bit just my understanding, and I might be wrong, and I can get totally shot down. I'm happy to get shot down. Is as well as Raw, they're shutting the network down, so and transferring most of the network content over to. I don't know if I got announced today or yesterday, but they're shutting the network down and transferring most of the stuff over to Netflix.
It's possible. They've got a year to do it at least.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to throw up a quick tea for a pee break. So if you could keep talking for 10, 15 seconds, I'll be back. It saves me having to pee into a can.
I'm going to load up. I'm going to load up the shit for the Rumble, so I know who's in it.
Cool.
And I'm going to find, because as I said there, my understanding is they're shutting down the network. So the network, for anyone that doesn't know, everyone knows what the network is. Where it's Netflix for WWE, and as I was saying there, students seem to be aware. So What Culture, who are a channel, amazing guys on. So What Culture and Cultaholic are my 2 main go-tos for wrestling related content. But they're reporting Dave Meltzer, so they're reporting from their source, which is the Wrestling Observer Radio. So Dave Meltzer is saying that the WWE network will be shut down come the end of 2024, and a whole bunch of the archive content will be shifted over onto Netflix. But the current Peacock model in the US will continue to run as normal until that deal expires in 2026. So if you're in the US, I know that their network model is different in the UK. We still have the network as it was when it first came out. But ultimately what I'm trying to say is this means that the international network, which has been running a bit like the WWE Netflix since 2014, will cease to exist. And Meltzer's sources have told him that Netflix will pick up the content. He's not sure how much Netflix will want. It's possible they won't transfer over absolutely everything from the servers, but most of the archival content is expected to be there. So that would hopefully mean that the PLEs, the WCW programming, the ECW shows, and more. They've got those fantastic documentaries about the Monday Night Wars and stuff. So yeah, it's understanding that the network will shut down internationally by the end of the year. And then in the US, it'll keep on going for another, because Peacock have got the license till 2026. But yeah, the idea is that they'll shut the network down and move most of the stuff over to Netflix. I haven't used Netflix in a number of years. I don't know if it's structured in a certain way, but I do know that.
I believe they have done some sporting events before. I think there's been like live golf coverage. So I guess maybe they're prepared for it. And I assume the fact that we have to wait till January 2025 is to wait out maybe existing TV contract deals. I guess is it like USA they're with currently, so maybe it's just a case of like waiting that out and then
it's a massive investment, and there must be reasons for doing it. Like I just assumed, because I don't know, my headcanon tells me that when the network went live, WWE just went absolutely. They were, and the money they were making was massively substantial off that. So they were getting, they had exclusive rights to everything they were doing, plus all obviously the different contracts they've got with, like, I'll say in the UK you can watch can watch the PLEs on, is it TNT box office do, so you can still go on to like the old way, the way we used to order pay-per-views when we were younger. You had to get your mom to like phone up the guy and say like, hey, the tenner or whatever, just so you can watch like events. TNT still do that to an extent where you have to like do it on your, you have to do it on your remote and have it booked in and stuff. Or you can watch it on the network.
Yes, I think everyone's kind of acclimatized to that, but I do remember going on your TiVo box and kind of like pre-ordering like the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, and then just sitting and waiting until midnight, hoping that it works. And you don't have to reset your box and miss this out.
Yeah, I remember. That's massive news, and it's quite exciting to see how that all about. I've not been on Netflix for a couple of years. I know, like, I've got Amazon, and Amazon did football from time to time, and they obviously do. They do live sport. So I don't know why in my head when I thought Netflix doing live sport, but yeah, it's obviously doable. Hopefully they'll like still keep some of the stuff, like the Monday Night War documentary series was one of my favorites, and the ECW, the rise and fall of ECW and stuff, that was all on the network. It's brilliant. So, and the rise and fall of WCW is brilliant as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they keep and what they think's worth. And I can't imagine they would put a lot of the
I had some statistic today, like when they went from the WWE network to Peacock, they lost about like 30% of their catalogue, and they're just wondering if the same thing will happen again, which is strange and concerning. But I guess it is a lot of like, right, they're taking on Raw. Are they going to backdate it? Are we going to go back to like when it began? And you've got like every episode of Raw, or are we just going to kind of start from 2025 onwards, new episode every week? But
it's exciting. It's definitely a big exciting time. It's obviously Titan Towers, the big honchos at WWE will have crunched the numbers, and obviously there is value to what they're doing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. And you got to ask yourself how many folk actually watch all that backdated stuff. I watch. I watch a lot of the guys at Cultaholic. They do a SmackDown and Raw rewatch where they're basically like they're 20 years behind this week, but they're just watching what was happening on Raw this week 20 years ago and going through it as I rewatch. But I can't imagine more people probably listen to that podcast and actually rewatch those episodes. So
yeah, I definitely.
When was the last time you wanted to watch? Have you ever rewatched an old Raw off the network?
No. Pay-per-views, I'd be more likely to revisit a I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a full episode of Raw, but I've just had such an urge to revisit the 2000 Royal Rumble pay-per-view, mainly because I adored the Cactus Jack Triple H street fight. And I do have access to the network. Popped it on, and then the app crashed halfway through, and I thought, this is just nonsense. And I am.
A lot of them are on YouTube. I watched them. The WWE.
I did look, and it wasn't there because I was just sort of jonesing to rewatch that match. So I've bookmarked. I've found the DVD. I'm just going to buy it just so I could just have it, and whenever I want to watch it, because that was kind of like my first proper pay-per-view. And also, that was that golden era of when pay-per-views were on Channel 4.
That was the 2000
once
Royal
a quarter.
Rumble.
Yes.
The 2000 Royal Rumble was the one that ruined that. It was the first one they showed, and it was the one that ruined that contract. So I think the Channel 4 not cancel that contract for WWE
maybe
pay-per-view
the following year, because they definitely did do 4 pay-per-views that year, and then after that, I'm not too sure.
But they had a year. Their contract was for a year, but that Royal Rumble, I think it was a year with the idea that they would continue the contract. But that Royal Rumble 2000, between the street fight being like watching an assault, basically, and the stuff with Mae Young on that pay-per-view, I think was enough for folk to be like, I think Channel 4 like, what the fuck have we bought?
That moment where it was someone from client side, and like maybe like Tanaki being eliminated for the Rumble, and the Mount, like, he lands face first and definitely like Bright busts his nose open, and it's Jerry the King Lawler on commentary going, "Oh, look at that Chinaman fall!" And it's just like,
nice. Yeah.
And it's like,
I've been watching.
Just so many things are wrong. But
I've been watching some old pay-per-views from that era. I watched the 2001 Royal Rumble, which is probably my favorite Royal Rumble. 2001, but Jerry, I watched it over Christmas. I watched it with Sonny, trying to get like my kids into wrestling so that I've got folk to go to the shows with. And Sonny really enjoyed the 2001 Rumble, but Lawler is woeful. Like his commentary and like his just like seediness, which was, I remember at the time thinking Lawler and JR were amazing. Particularly listening back now, I'm like, oh, it was all JR.
Puppies,
Lawler's just fine. And there's he just keeps talking about. There was obviously at the same time as the 2001 Rumble, that was a story where Vince McMahon had Trish Stratus as his assistant, and it's just Lawler constantly. There's actually a point in the 2001 Rumble match itself where he's asking about Trish, and you can almost hear JR being totally pissed off and going, "Can we just focus on this match, please?" That 2001 Rumble is amazing though, with the Honky Tonk Man coming out, and
is that where it turns into like does Raven come out and bring every weapon into the ring, and then it turns into like a hardcore street fight, and where Kane eliminates the most people.
Kane eliminates 13, I think, in that match. And it was the record.
Who's the celebrity? Is it like Drew Carey or something? They come out. And then when Kane comes out, he just eliminates himself.
He just climbs over the top rope and jumps out when Kane shows up.
Exactly. A lot of my pay-per-view history, all from 2000 onwards. I'm almost tempted to kind of go backwards and see what 1999 was like.
I watched the 1999 Rumble. I found them all, and I've just kind of been watching them back. There's some great ones. 99's awful. 99's a funny one. It's good to watch it because you like Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock in that, and the rosters. It's total peak attitude era roster. It's really fascinating. But 99 was the one where Vince McMahon had put the bounty on Stone Cold. You know, anyone that eliminates Stone Cold for the Rumble gets $100,000. So and it was all right. But it's just a bit meh. 2001's great. 2004 is brilliant, but I really enjoy that one. But Benoit wins it, so it's the one that's like the Forgotten Rumble. It's a real. But don't get me wrong, it's a really good Rumble.
Is that the one that leads to him winning at Mania, hugging Eddie, and
So when you watch it Wednesday, it's totally heartbreaking. But on its merits, it's good. 2002 is a good Rumble as well. Actually, that's the one where Triple H came back after the invasion. That's great. That's good. Yeah. It's good, but there's no chance. I remember at the time watching it and being like, it has to be Triple H that wins this. There's no chance anyone else can win this. And that's probably my main criticism about the older Rumbles in general. Is it's so full of mid-carders. It's too obvious. Like 98 and 99, you know Stone Cold's going to win it, and then obviously he doesn't win it because of Vince McMahon shenanigans. But and then in 2000, it's obviously The Rock, but then that got fucked up. So
what direction where is going this year?
Yeah, I was going to say that. This year is fascinating. It's probably I've been watching Raw for the first time properly in years. The last couple of months, and actually, it's like the build-up for the Rumble in this one's been great. And there's just what I quite like about it is there's like usually they kind of lean towards one or two obvious winners, and no one else has got a look in. But I think there's like three on their own very obvious winners, but then there's also about three or four obvious and potential like surprises that could happen as well. So like, so I'm off the top of my head, there's potentially 5 winners.
Okay, right.
Just for the main Rumble.
Could I guess?
Yeah. So who would you say you're like? Yeah. What would this? We'll talk about the obvious ones. We'll pick a winner each, and then we'll come back next week and see. So who have you got? Who are the obviouses then?
Obvious ones would be like Punk, Cody Rhodes, let's say Drew McIntyre. One of the lower, but kind of would be cool if they did, would be like Gunther.
Yeah, so I've got Gunther quite high. I think.
Yeah, that's it. Like it's good because it's hard to tell like which horse to back in this race, because they've all kind of got storylines going into this. Like I guess based on like the win-loss record alone, like Gunther should just be like king of the castle at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, every week sort of Punk's got a story, like got a promo with like Drew, Cody Rhodes. So like he's got all these people who's coming out, and there's like, I don't know. It's because did Cody get last year?
Cody won last year, yeah. That was the whole complete story, and you never got. So that's it. The Cody one. Like, can he finish the story? And then it's funny because in November, if you'd asked me in November, maybe just before Survivor Series, you could just see it's like, oh, Cody Rhodes is going to win again, and they're going to build towards him and Roman Part 2, and he'll win it finally. And maybe at SummerSlam they'll do like a best of 3, which Cody Rhodes will win. You know, he'll retain against Rhodes. He'll contain against Roman at SummerSlam, and that'll be the 3 matches.
Aye.
But then Punk came back. Obviously, The Rock's hovering around as well.
Yeah, I know. Surely he's not going to pop up in the Rumble.
I don't think he needs to. I think you can slot. If they're giving The Rock a match at WrestleMania, they can slot him in quite easily. I think I think the issue is if you slot The Rock in for a match at WrestleMania, he has to go against Roman, doesn't he?
It doesn't make sense to go against anyone else. Roman's had the title for feels like decades at this point, and like he's just beaten him, he's stacked him, he's pinned him, he's went through them all. Who else to beat him other than someone from his family that is at a higher status of like success than him? So
what I quite like about Roman just now is Roman's placed in a position that allows you to like. I think Punk Roman would be amazing. I think Punk a standalone match. I think obviously Cody Roman, because it's like Cody Roman 2. It's like can he finish the story?
I know. I would love that.
You got Gunther's just an absolute machine. So like him versus Roman's just intriguing.
Yeah, I can hear the chops right now.
But you also then got
Mhm.
Seth Rollins as another world champion. So when you win the Rumble, you can go against him. Which then
Mhm.
I think that opens up Gunther and that opens up Punk to be legitimate winners because they
Yes.
could win the Rumble, but then not
Yeah, they could go that way.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
it's intriguing. Who do you think's going to win?
I really want Cody to finish the story. There's part of me that wants Punk to get his Mania main event. Part of me is like, yeah, I'm Scottish. I want Drew McIntyre to get his his victory in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
Yes, he was like the pandemic champion, and the guy deserves another go with the championship in front of the crowds. And whilst I haven't seen it, I heard that his promo the other week, where it's like this heel persona he's got now, where he's just a ticked off genuine guy. Like, yeah, fuck it, I give it
He's
to
good.
him. Like,
It's good. He's not coming off too whiny yet, which I'm enjoying. I hope they don't. I hope they don't make him really like moany. But I really like. I really like Drew at the moment because they've managed to toe the line between he's got grievances, but they're genuine and they're understandable. His he's grumbling in a way that makes it quite dislikable, but there's nothing untrue about what he's saying, which is good.
Exactly. So that's a lot of them. It's only Cody and The Rock that goes towards Roman. The rest would swing towards Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's quite banged up just now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like he's
I think he got injured. Like they're worried that he might not be able to perform at WrestleMania.
I think there was a promo on Raw this week where he more or less just said, "Right, yes, I am injured, but I'm." This is just an assumption. I've not actually watched the clips, and I think he said something about like he's just going to avoid surgery, and he's going to weigh it out, and he'll be in fighting shape in time for Mania.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, so can you keep your belt then?
He might do that thing where he went, but then I remember that being a thing where folk.
If you don't defend in 30 days, you relinquish the title.
That was a Lesnar critique, though. As I always kind of think about it in my head, where it's like because Lesnar had the belt and kept fucking off, and folk were really annoyed. But Roman does it all the time, and folk don't care.
Yeah, I think Roman's. I remember them saying that he wasn't going to be an elimination chamber, and like, yeah, it is like you could almost count the matches he's had in the last year on like between your two hands.
That's the other idea I heard is that like the Rock faces the Rock might face Roman at Elimination Chamber, and so that we get that match, and then we get Cody at the Rumble. We get Cody at Mania.
Yeah, that's one way to make it work. But yeah, I think they confirmed that Roman's not going to be because it's in Perth, Australia, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
we're looking at it because it's not like 10 a.m.
Yeah, 10 a.m. for the UK. It's like I could do that.
I love that. So yeah, so picks. Who have you got? Who are you going to say?
Part of me, like, there's the heart that wants Drew to win, but I feel like that would be maybe it would be classed as an underwhelming result. So I would have to say Cody.
Yeah. So I think Punk will do it. I think it's gonna be Punk, and then he'll go for Seth, and then it just keeps the Roman. It keeps Roman free for Cody or Roman Rock or Roman Cody or I like a good triple threat. Roman Rock and Cody would be quite good. It would take
that way
you could almost
kind of do everyone a favor if it's a triple threat. Like you could have Cody pin the Rock, and that keeps Roman strong. Lost the belt without having to get pinned. Cody finishes the story. He ends up with the belt.
It creates a story as well, though, because he finished. You could say, "Oh, he won the championship at Mania," and he finishes the story, but then it frees Roman up to be like, "Yeah, but you didn't finish the story against me," and that so the story hasn't been. You can play about with that as well. And there's I think I think you get Punk to win the Rumble and then move him into us and him and Seth, and then that's fine. And then you can, like, I think the way that the Rumble is now geared, it frees up. It creates an issue where you're like, well, so and so can't win, and that's why I think the two champions thing's quite good as well. So it used to be like so and so can't win. I was telling you about those old Rumbles where like because there's only one, there's only one title shot at the end. Like it basically eliminates 27 of the 30 guys ever from winning. So yeah, so you've got Cody and you've got Cody and I've got Punk. I think.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. Like one of my favorite things about the Rumble, and maybe this is the last thing we talk about because it's been almost 2 hours.
Sure.
We'll do a bonus point, right? And I haven't set this up for you yet, right? But one of my favorite things about the Rumble is the surprise Final Four. I love the Final Fours when you like that bit where there's always a bit in the Rumble where like entrants come in and folk are getting thrown off, and then all of a sudden it gets to the point where you're down to your Final Five or your Final Four, and you're like, shit, we're no one else is coming in. We're down to that. We're down to it's one of these 4 guys. And that bit's always really quite exciting, I think. And I was saying, I was watching the 2001 Rumble and the 2002 Rumble recently, and the 2002 Rumble had Mr. Perfect in the Final Four.
Right.
And it's like, and just stuff like that. So like my question for you, and that was really cool. My question for you is I want you to pick another wrestler that's in the Final Four, and you get a bonus point if they're in the Final Four on Saturday.
I would say I feel like the obvious one has to be Gunter, but like, what mid carder would you pick? Like LA Knight?
Yeah, I think LA Knight's a good shout. I've been reading bits and pieces as well. Big E.
Really?
Yeah, I think he might be the final.
That would be a huge surprise. Yeah. But what about Legends? Like there's always that 1 year where Booker T was in the Rumble, but he was actually doing commentary at the desk, and he stood up, and the top half was suit, and the bottom half was just trunks and boots, and he just rolled into the ring. Is there any Legends you could think of?
Okay, so who have you got in your Final Four? We'll move on to Legends. So then that's 3, and I'll write them down. So like you get a point for who wins the Rumble. You got a point for a Final Four entrant, and then you can get a bonus point for a surprise.
Okay, obvious Final Four. You'd have to be Punk, Cody, Gunter, and LA Knight. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah. So I think I've got instead of LA Knight, I've got Drew, but it's the same Final Four.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
I think that. And then my legend is Big E. I think Big E. Does he count as a legend? I think he's done enough to be categorized as a legend. Through the fact that how he's kind of bounced back from like his injury, or the fact that it's not kind of stopped him. Like, yes, okay, he's not wrestled, but he's still such a member of the community. He's out there doing so much work for the company, and the fact that he was so fucking lucky. Like the dude broke his neck, and there was not any horrible injury. There was no like paralysis. It could have been so much worse, and he seems like the nicest man alive as well. So I think he's got a job for life with WWE. I think if he was if he wasn't a good person, and he wasn't just like they would have they might put him on like a Legends contract and stuff. But my understanding is he's got a really big deal.
So glad he got a title run as well.
Yeah,
because that is definitely a dude that deserves it.
See, he's my returning legend as Big E, I think.
I wonder who. No, I'm just thinking of who have they released, but I don't think they're going to let Matt Riddle back in.
I've heard that X-Pac might be there.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing tweets about that. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, I can't even tell you who maybe is it what? There's definitely a Von Erich still kicking about.
Do you think they'll fire out of Von Erich?
Maybe.
I don't know,
like just wearing a T-shirt where it's got Iron Claw on it, just like a wee promo.
I don't know. Like I've got in my head. I've got him. I'm trying to think of like my folk that I think they might bring in for random things. Regal, I think maybe got a shout. He was back on telly this week.
Yep, I know that's a good shout. You're not going to get
X-Pac was in my head, but then obviously last year we I watched the Rumble, the one that or bits of the Rumble a couple weeks ago where Booker T came back. It was when CM Punk was leader of the Nexus.
Right. Okay.
And, it was his. That was pretty cool because you got Booker T and you got Diesel that year. So,
right. Yeah.
God, there's so many.
That is.
Okada's free, and they reckon Okada might have been snapped up.
that would be insane. That would absolutely be nuts. I know there was that year where like that's how they introduced AJ Styles. Like they brought him in with the Rumble. But Okada, I mean, that would be. I'd always
that was my favorite. That was my favorite because they had to release YouTube afterwards. They had to release the alternative footage of him because the original screen. I was absolutely mind blown when AJ Styles came out. I watched that live, and it was probably one of my most exciting moments. But for whatever reason, whoever was in the production truck that night decided to keep the camera on Roman the whole time. If you watch that back, it's just Roman's face looking at as the music starts and then making like a whose tune is this? And you're like, oh, it's fucking Gil on the stage. Get the camera on the stage.
Yeah, they've done the same to Edge. Like when he returned, they kept the camera off it and they missed the spear. Like he speared Dolph Ziggler on his return, and it was just we looked at the crowd at the wrong second and we missed the spear. But
it's good that about YouTube because I know WWE re-released the footage and they did the same with AJ Styles where they released like a different camera angle and you're like, that's better. Like so okay. Have you got a legend? So I've got Big E in my final four. Have you got in your winner? Have you got your legend? Or your surprise entrant. Doesn't need to be a legend. A surprise entrant.
nah, because we got Carlito last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
Nah, that's maybe The Rock for shits and giggles.
Yeah, The Rock's a good show, actually. He would certainly be I think The Rock's a good show, man.
Mm-hmm. Shows up as the board of directors.
But that's what he is now. He's not
another one like a more plausible one might be Shane O'Mac. Like I loves to just run down, do the wee skip dance, then like turn like a tendon, and then off for the rest of the year.
That was probably my favorite bit of race. My favorite Rumble moment ever, because I'm a morbid asshole, right, is always going to be 2005 when Batista and John Cena managed to eliminate each other in unison.
Perfectly.
They managed by accident what's been attempted twice for real, and it's just not managed. They've not managed it, and they managed it by accident.
Swimmers.
Yeah, that last 5 minutes of that Royal Rumble is probably my favorite wrestling. It's the one I'll show my mates when we've had a couple of beers. And I'm like, "Go watch this," and then Vince McMahon comes out and he fucks his quad. It's so morbidly funny. It's like,
and he's sat on his arse in the ring shouting at them, so angry, and he can't stand up to save himself.
It's legendarily funny. You just watch it, and you're like, holy shit! It was bad anyway. It was like a total and then he tried to come out and give Vinny his due. He came out to try and resolve the situation, and then he fucked. Oh my god, what's happening? And then I would say, I think
it's just the moment where he gets in the ring, tries to stand up, and then falls over. And realizes
Shane McMahon did it last year at WrestleMania. It was hilarious.
Yeah, they had to improvise on the spot.
WrestleMania. So good.
Yeah, even my son knows about that moment.
Because I showed it to Claire, I was like, watch what happens. Because I was like, look, when you watch it through it, and you're talking through it with somebody that doesn't know what they're seeing, you're like, he's now hurt and they can't do anything, but they're supposed to be having a match. And then I was like,
Yeah.
watch Snoop Dogg. Watch what Snoop Dogg does. And Snoop Dogg says like, it was like he just saves it. He saves it. You're like, how's he got enough? How's, you know, of all people in that situation, how's it Snoop Dogg that was able to work out how to resolve it? So
Yeah.
good. Wrestling's amazing.
It's one of these things that it's just so unpredictable, and there's nothing else like it.
Yeah, totally.
And we class it as sports.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Oh, so good, man. Right, I can't wait for the rest of it. Are you going to be watching the Royal Rumble live? Or are you going to watch it on Sunday?
No, I'm a shite bag. I will watch it on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I'm going to attempt to watch it live. Probably get about halfway through, and then fall asleep on the couch, and then have to rewatch it in the morning. Well, I'm going to make the attempt. So
good on you.
So yeah, I think that's us done. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And we'll catch you all next week. Where I'll try and grab you in the weeks to talk about what we thought happened and what we think will happen for me.
Yeah,
and stuff.
definitely.
Awesome. Right, team. Thank you so much. Everyone have a good evening. Cheers.